Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to 3R Guitars, and basically continuing on with these resin top guitars that I'm building at present. I mean, at the outset, I had no intention of building a series of guitars. It's just they've kind of worked out so quirky and so well. They really kind of tick my tick the boxes for an interest for me to make more of them. And my friend was kind enough to give me that mahogany gate leg table, which I wanted to use. I don't like accepting stuff off people if I'm not gonna use it, just to be greedy sort of thing. So, and it's really nice to use reclaimed timber. It had no purpose before, and now it's been turned into these two guitars. So they're quite well documented elsewhere. So we've got the leaf one, and then we've got the money one here. I just, like I say, they've exceeded all my sort of expectations in how they've turned out. There's a lot of things I like about them. One, they're an individual shape. They're my design guitars, and I actually think they're good. I mean, I've made several my own design guitars before. Some work out well, some you think, yeah, don't, and some don't really excite me very much. They're just fairly plain things. But these, I think, are really different. They're fun. They're not too arduous to build. The resin's a bit of a pig to work with. And a few things I've liked, how things have gone along. This was the first one I built, obviously, if you've been watching. And it's these autumn leaves in there. Accidental thing that happened is, I glued the leaves down. I didn't realise when I was pouring the resin on that they'd start floating, and I thought, oh god, here we go, disaster time. But if you look at them, that really is a nice feature that is really stunning, and everybody who's seen the guitar without fail say, oh, I just love the way they're like all 3D, and not flat. Just looks so cool. And so I thought, oh, happy accident kind of thing. With this money guitar, we went for something a bit different, which was, we had the controls on the front and things like that. And I actually really like that, and I'm not sure whether putting the controls on the side of this to kind of preserve the the look of the top was a good thing or not. I think I could have probably come up with a leaf shaped control plate on there or something, and I don't think it would have been detrimental to the guitar in retrospect, and it would have been just more conventional instead of having the controls on the side. Some players might not mind that. Some players might think, oh no, I want the controls on the top. Just, in the end, guitars are to play, and sometimes following a tried and trusted layout like this, nice and simple, is just, the best way to go. But with this, we had the opportunity, with all this old money, to go quite Victorian with a look. There was a lovely theme to it, and believe me, that's what really excites me in making a guitar, is coming up with a theme. Building it is not really a problem, you just got to be careful, but actually coming up with a theme and a design and a purpose for everything to be on there, I think is really nice. And I just think this actually turned out just fantastic. I blowing my own trumpet a bit, I really like the looks of this guitar. I think it just looks really funky, and I can just imagine, someone playing it on stage somewhere, and people going, what the fuck is that, and like, but it's not stupid, So I mean, everything from the the headstock matches this, that, and the other. So really like that. So where do we go next? Well, we'll do another resin top guitar, and one of the things I've loved all my life. I mean, I'm 60 plus now, and it is 1950s sci-fi films, and things like Forbidden Planet, This Island Earth, When Worlds Collide, all that kind of thing. War of the Worlds, the original one, not the awful new one. But I really love the cinematography in them, and like just the old sci-fi stuff really floats my boat. And so I decided to do a resin topped sci-fi guitar. So how far have I got? Without any ado, here's the beginnings of it. Right, here we go. So it's all the 50s posters, the Forbidden Planet, War of the Worlds, all the When Worlds Collide, Time Machine, and all that stuck on it, but with the view that I love the 3D look of this guitar, the leaf guitar. I've actually like stuck layers of bits on, kind of thing. So you've got the posters underneath, or scenes from the film underneath, just basically decouperized on top of the guitar, and then I've done duplicate copies of those, and I've glued them on to plastic card, just like a thin plastic, and stuck them on the top on spacers, so it all kind of sticks out like sort of Blam from a cartoon, so not cartoon, from a comic sort of thing. So there's the new one coming along. Now I think at this stage it's going to look good. So there we go. So that's the new one. I think I'm learning about this resin. One thing with this guitar, now it's not unpleasant, it's got a slight curve to the body. After the resin went on, it curved, and I've had that happen before. Now, like I say, I'm not adverse to that. It is what it is. It doesn't affect the playing of the guitar. This one stayed flat, and the reason why I think that is because I painted the top of it with this Union Jack underneath. So I'm guessing there must be a fair water content in this resin, and it expands the top of the wood and curves it. I mean, you spray any wood, wet one side of it, especially flat sawn wood, and it will curve. And I'm wondering whether the protection of the paint on this, which was cellulose paint, basically stopped the water in the resin actually affecting the wood. So I'm kind of hoping with this it'll stay straight as well, because I basically painted it with a white paint, then sprayed all the posters kind of thing before gluing them on. You must do that to seal the ink in, sort of thing, otherwise they get transparent and look awful. And I wanted the white underneath, just see a drip of it there down the side, just so the colours would be more vibrant. Then stuck the posters on, so we'll see if this stays flat. But yeah, going from there, I think it's going to, the creature walks among us, dun, dun, dun. But I just love it all. I love that kind of stuff. And so we'll see how this goes. So this is number 3 from this bit of wood now, and I anticipated that I'd only be doing one and throwing it away afterwards. So sometimes things like that just work out really well. I've got one of these necks left, with a rosewood fretboard. I think I've got one with a maple fretboard. So I've got enough wood from that table to make one more body. So there may be 4 to this, but I had the idea, when I was doing the leaves, that that looked really good, and I had in the back of my mind, the old money. I mean, one reason why I thought of that was basically my wife's American, and she'd kind of never seen or very rarely seen the old money before, so I thought, oh, that would be fun for her to look at. And you know, I had in mind as well the 50s sci-fi, but she came up with the idea of spacing these images up on it, sort of thing. So fairly Roy Lichtenstein looking, I guess. But yeah, so it should be fun. I won't bore you with any more shite. So yeah, we'll carry on from there, and I'll call you back when. I mean, I'm not going to show all the building of this, but you know, just a bit of fun anyway. So cheers for that. Well, hi and welcome back to like part 2 of this third resin guitar build. Yeah, I remember it like the 50s sci-fi movie poster one, and with these like raised bits that sort of shadow over the top of the original picture, sort of thing. Yep. So what I've done now is, you know, I've finished sticking all these like raised bits on, and yesterday I sprayed over them with a couple of coats of cellulose lacquer, so everything's sealed up there, kind of thing. The next job we've got to do is basically put an upstand around the edge. Now there's probably a number of ways you can do that. The reason why you need the upstand obviously is I want to pour resin over it, so you've got to have some walls to stop it like flowing over, and it can get really disastrous if you don't you know, do this well, because you know, any leaks or anything like that, the stuff is so runny and so messy. Trying to stop it leak once you've started pouring it is a nightmare. But what I've done with some success is I've got this iron-on veneer, and what it's basically for is, you know, if you cut a bit of veneer chipboard or something like this, you can iron this on the edge of it, and it finishes it off neatly. But I mean, this is just white, it's just the cheapest one, and you get tons on a roll, so it's pretty good. And got the wife's iron here, so keep quiet about that, lads, and I might get away with it and sneak it back in, you know, without her noticing, and clean any shit I'll get off the bottom of it, and no one would know any different, eh? So what I'm going to do is I want to go round the neck pocket. You know, I don't want to pour all resin in there, kind of thing, and that's why I routed that out first. You know, you don't want a big clump in there. And if I was brave, I'd actually route out the pickup holes as well, but I don't know exactly where they're going to go, and I don't know how the neck's going to line up precisely, so I can't do that. So I'm just gonna, I've left these two little upstands that are wider than the neck effectively, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut slots in those with a saw, so when I put this in, I've got like you know, a starting point for that to be held, kind of thing, so I can just push that in the slot down there. So I'll saw a slot there, and then I can start ironing it on, and it seems quite difficult when you start, you know, but it's actually not too bad. So what I'll do, I'll just run a hacksaw through those little legs there, and get you back when you know, I'm ready to start ironing it on. Cheers. Hi there. So I've got the body clamped in the vise. Now the thing is, you know, I want, like, I've planned for about 10mm thickness of resin on here, so this stuff is, I don't know how wide it is, it's probably about 18mm or something, I think. So as long as I've got somewhere around, you know, 10mm of overhang, doesn't really matter. It's backed with like a contact adhesive, and that melts with heat, so I can get on and let's see how we get on. Just iron a bit on, but it usually goes pretty easily. So there we are. I mean, you saw how quick that was to get on. You know, it's nice and solid on there as well. It takes quite a bit to break it off, but I don't entirely trust it. And what I do is I smear some silicone bathroom sealer around the bottom of the joint, kind of thing, and then you know, that's just belt and braces really. And like I say, it's not. It does stick very, very well. It's got no tendency to split away, so that's really good. So now I'll just get and do the rest of it. Get back to you then. Well, back again. I've got the edging on now, and you know, I managed to get it round the front and in the neck and all that. Now the secret is here, you do not want it to leak or anything like that. And I noticed that, you know, this being an old table, this wood, I've got a screw hole there just on the side, so you know, I've got some little areas to fill. You find with this iron-on edging as well is you know, it's very fragile to being knocked or anything like that, so you know, be careful with it. But the glue is quite strong, but if it does come loose in any places, which is unlikely to if you've done it, you know, you've had heat on it for long enough, you know, but you can sometimes overheat it and the glue stays soft too long, so you know, you move along with the iron and it hasn't like solidified in a certain area, so you push it on. But it's pretty self-explanatory stuff. So what I'll do now is I'll put a continuous bead of silicone along here, and you can see it's actually cracked a little bit there where I've curved it round here, so I'll put a little bit of silicone in there, but just to make sure it doesn't leak. But I mean, don't I'm not going to worry too much about, you know, the edge being accurate or anything, because I'll be routing all that. And the silicon makes a, this is the silicon I use, just the no nonsense stuff. And the thing is that the silicon is like quite a bugger to get to get off afterwards. So you know, there's a lot of cleaning up to do on the edge anyway. So anyway, I just squirt some silicon around it and then walk away, because I am useless with silicon. I will get it everywhere. God knows why. It doesn't matter how tidy I try to be, I'll make a mess with it. So I do that, and then basically it's hanging around until the I've ordered the glass cast resin. I buy it from a firm called Glass Cast. That seems to be the nicest stuff, and they get it here in a day. So and for this guitar, basically a litre of it, or a kilogram of it, is enough to do a 10mm pour all over it. And so it's ideal really, and it's about, with postage and everything, it's about £32 a kilogram litre, which is, you know, it's quite pricey, but well, I suppose it is. It just seems it to me, but you know, it does the job. So anyway, I'll get putting silicon around this, and then tomorrow I'll bring you back when we pour it on. So there we go. Thank you. Well, hi there, back to this Sci Fi guitar, and we're about ready to cast the resin. Few things that are probably quite obvious, but you know, you don't want to overlook. One thing is, you know, you're basically pouring a water over this, so if it's not level, you know, in the worst case scenario, it will like flow over the edge sort of thing in one place or another, or on one side or the other. And in addition, if it's slightly out of level, then, you know, your resin will end up deeper on one side than another. So it's quite important to get this as level as you can. So you can see I'm doing it on my router table. So this is, I know this is flat, but it's, you know, it's not necessarily level. So I've got some packing pieces underneath the guitar around here. So I've actually got this like level both across and lengthways. Now it's, you know, you're basically roughly talking about it, because this edge, you know, I've put on is not necessarily the same height all the way around. I mean, it's near as damn it, but you've got to give yourself a good you know, a good starter, if you like. So get it as good as you can, and you can see it's kind of the sort of thing that you don't want to sort of do it on a wing, on a prayer sort of thing. Oh, I'll just tip the lacquer in and all that, just tip the resin in and all that, and because you don't want to make a mistake, because it's really messy stuff. So the other thing is as well, you know, it takes an age to dry. I mean, at least overnight before it's you know, it's not even touch dry overnight, but at least it's hard-ish. So the other things, you don't want, like, you know, dust all over it, or dust likely to fall over it while it's drying or anything like that. You know, I've also got the silicone round to stop it flowing out of any holes. You really don't want to have anything go wrong while you're doing it. So, you know, it's all ready now. So let me get the resin and show you how it comes. And I really actually like this, the way they sell it. So you've got, the firm is Glass Cast, I use them. I just looked online really for a clear resin. You can get, apparently there's another type that's really stinky sort of thing, which this is not. It doesn't smell of anything. So I've got a kilogram here of it, which is, I think it's about a litre, is it? I think. So you have sort of that much resin in the pot, and then you've got your hardener here. And the good thing is that I really like about it, I'm going to be mixing the lot up, and I don't have to pour it in. The nice thing is, because they leave so much space in it, you can just tip the hardener straight in there if you're using the lot, which is really handy. And that's basically what it is. This is you need twice as much resin to hardener, and it's already done for a litre for you. So this is, it says on here, by volume 100% resin to 50% hardener, by weight 100% resin to 45% hardener. So if you want to mix it up, then that's up to you, sort of thing. But you can see here you've got 690 grams of resin, and you've got 310 grams of hardener. So I'm sure that goes to, this is obviously by weight, so that's obviously 100% to 45, I guess. So I'm about ready to pour it now, and what I'll do is I'll get this mixed up. So there's no real hurry to it. Like I say, it takes a century to go off, sort of thing. I think the pot life of it, once you've mixed it up, is hours, sort of thing. So, and the nice thing is about not putting it in, not having to put it in another container to mix, is that, it's tight. You've got no risk of getting contaminants in there or anything. This is going to be a bugger to get off there. There we go. Right, so I can dump this in now. Right, gets a bit nerve-wracking, doesn't it? But here you go. So that's all I'm going to do, is just tip this in here now. First guitar I did with the resin, the leaf one, I actually bought 1.5 kilograms of resin, thinking I'd need it, but I really only needed one, so it's quite convenient. Right, the one thing it does say about this stuff is you really have to mix it thoroughly. So I'll start off by giving it a good shake and then stir it. So anyway, I'll get you back when I'm ready to pour. This is just really obvious stuff anyway, so cheers. Okay, I've been mixing this for a good 10 minutes probably, and it says that, thoroughly mix it, so I'll take that as that. So let's have, before we pour it, let's have one final check. Well, I think we're about as level as we're going to get, so here goes. Now, I think it's best to do this towards the end of the work day. You don't want this lying around where it can get knocked or something like that. So anyway, without further ado, doesn't seem like there's going to be enough, but I'm hoping it's exactly the same as before. They do say that there's no problem with adding more on, but you know, if you let one load dry and then do another pour sort of thing. But I'm not so sure about that actually. They say that before you do it, sand the previous layer, but I don't know if it would go transparent or not. But they say on the website it does. So there we are, we're very full over there, we're right up to the edge there, and we're actually like really low, what looks low here. So I'd almost like to tip it up a little bit. But I don't want to mess about with it too much, but it could be just the height of the edge I've got round there is a bit lower, but it seems quite low there, so I wonder, let's just try lifting it a little bit. I think I will just fractionally. It's best to do this with. I've got another ruler I can shove over this edge. That's actually looking better. I think it's tipped slightly back, fractionally back, because it seems to be deeper. I'm going to see if I can just lift this slightly, put something under there. I mean, it's fine as it is. Let's have a look. Put another padding underneath there a little bit. Oh, I'm actually liking that a lot now. That looks really good. So right, we've got that poured now, but what you find is you can see loads and loads of air bubbles in it, loads of tiny air bubbles, and there's a trick to getting that out, which I'll show you in a minute. I mean, I don't know if you can see on it, you can see a sort of cloudiness in it, but I'll show you. What to do. Looks dangerous, but there we go. You just get a blowtorch and you literally just flash it over it, and can you see that, how the bubbles come out? It's amazing. Oh, don't want to catch anything on it. Anywhere where you see like a cloudiness or bubbles, just go over it with a flame really quickly and they just all pop. You see how much clearer that looks now. Yeah, that's that done now. Nice and quick, and it's looking looking good. I can see I've missed a bit with the flames in there. I mean, you have to come back and do this a few times. That looks fine now. But they'll obviously, because you've got raised paper, you know, the way I've done this, some of it is raised. You know, you'll have bubbles underneath, you might have some air underneath it that will take time to come out. So what I'll do is I'll just leave that now and come back to it a couple of times in the evening. You can see a big bubble come out there then, and go over it again with the flame, and hopefully that'll, you know, get rid of all of it. I mean, I don't expect it to be perfect, but you know, it's looking good. So phew, that's a one shot process, isn't it? So you don't want to go buggering anything up. You know, what I learned with the first one was things float up with like those leaves, even though I glued them down, the edges curled up and floated. So with this, all these raised images I've glued to plastic card and then glued them on the top, sort of thing, with spacers. So yeah, but you learn by mistakes. But yeah, so we leave that, and then hopefully it'll all go well. Thank you. Okay, welcome back to 3R Guitars and this third resin guitar. Well, I think this is 3 days down the line after pouring this resin, and I've literally left it on the bench here in exactly the same place. I had a bit of a panic first. The first morning after I'd poured it, I came in here and it was still almost completely soft. It was a bit fractionally more jelly-like, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't anywhere near, you know, if I'd have tipped it a little bit, it would have just, you know, it would have just poured out. So, but it was quite an unexpectedly cold night. They say this resin does dry, you know, from 15 degrees C upwards, but the important thing it said on the instructions was that you really don't want to have it above 25 degrees C. So I just thought, well, I'll just walk away and leave it, have a day off the old working in the shed. And the next day, which I think that was actually yesterday, came back and the resin had hardened a lot. I mean, it had a bit of a sticky top to it, but I thought, oh great, so it has hardened, and now, you know, it's really hard, sort of thing. So you know, I'm quite like happy with that. But when I poured it, it was absolutely crystal clear. And yesterday when I came in, it was absolutely crystal clear. So I thought, great. But like the money guitar, now let's just get this up. See, we've had some pour out there, look. Look, some's leaked out, don't know where from, but like I was saying, it's interesting. But oh well, somewhere, but not to worry. It's only a fraction. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's really clear, you know, it's not bad at all, but I can see a slight haziness in it, as though there's like really tiny bubbles, and the money guitar did that, but the Leaf one didn't, and I don't know why. I mean, I look across it and you can see like almost like it's got dust in it, but it hasn't, and the dust is not just on the top, it's down. So I'm just gonna have to live with that, and I don't mind. Actually, it doesn't bother me at all, because you can still see quite clearly, and it gives it a bit of an old look, which I'm, I'm not adverse to at all. So I'm not like spitting feathers or anything about that, but I'm just wondering why that happens, and it's happened twice now. I wonder whether it's something to do with the cellulose paint underneath it or whatever, but maybe I'll get to the bottom of it. But like I say, it's not in my radar at all to be annoyed with it. So what I'm going to do now is, let's give you a good look at it anyway. So here we go. I think it looks really good, Roy Lichtenstein sort of comic-y, which I love. What I'm going to do now is just like leave it for another few days, probably till over the weekend, and then get working on it again. But I'm, the one thing with this stuff, I don't know if you remember on the last guitar, the Money guitar, where I tried to put resin over the threepenny bits in the neck. I had that drying for a few days and it seemed to go hard, and then I put some heat on it to try and speed it up a bit. Big mistake, it just turned it back to water and it ran out. So there's no rush in this stuff, it seems, and they do say in the instructions that if you have got a low temperature, and I think it certainly went down in the 40s the other night, after the first night. That's Fahrenheit, God knows what that is in centigrade. But I think that they say it can take up to 96 hours to dry, so that's a long time. So I'm just going to stick this in the airing cupboard, leave it there, and then come back to it in a few days and get going. Cheers.